'Tis I, your old pal, King Chuck. Hope you're having a wonderful Thanksgiving weekend. I am beginning mine. I just got off work, actually. And, I know this is, to so many people, this is not a very thankful Thanksgiving. We're dealing with people with no jobs right now. The economy ain't where it used to be a year ago when, things were still normal under Biden. It's amazing how some people are like, well, everything's expensive because of Biden. No. Okay, then explain to me why the price of coffee is more, groceries are more, everything's more money. I will never understand why people think that Biden was the Antichrist in this situation. And look what's going on now. We got a president who is anti-First Amendment. I mean, he screwed over Jimmy Kimmel. He screwed over Stephen Colbert. He's now screwing over some of our senators who faced combat, including one of my senators here in Michigan, Alyssa Slotkin. Now, I'm not a big fan of Alyssa's because she is a centralist, but unfortunately, she is still a Democrat, and of course, Trump is going after her by saying that, what you're doing is treasonous. Fuck you, asshole. I will never understand. Of course, yesterday he pardoned 2 turkeys, and while doing so, he decided to trash, all the Democrats and all the people who were against him. And I'm like, okay, something, man? What a delusional president that we have. And, one of the most despicable things, I want to talk about one of the most despicable things that he did as president. And this is definitely a sad story. It's been top of the news here in West Michigan. Tragic story out of Fruitport Township, just outside Muskegon. An 11-year-old girl is dead because her mom sat on her. Yeah, the girl's name was Mialah Leak. Her mother was Sherry Leak. And the story was on her 11th birthday recently, Mialah and her mom got into a huge argument, and Sherry decided to sit on her. And apparently, so what happened was when she finally got off her, she realized that she killed her. Called the cops, and she was, little Mialah was dead on arrival, basically. So anyway, Sherry Leak has been charged with the murder of Mialah, and she could be facing 15 years behind bars. So she's going to be in jail for a very long time. And Sherry Leak, by the way, is not Mialah's biological mom. Sherry, by the way, is 55 years old. She adopted Mialah when she was a little girl way back in 2017. So the story was Mialah's biological mom went to jail. And her dad, obviously, was nowhere to be found. Mialah, of course, was black. And so what happened is, what's tragic is, it's always that stupid joke that black men make terrible dads because they disappear the moment they become a dad. And I've seen a lot of white folks who are not great parents either. I mean, I had an uncle who was a terrible, who was a non-existent dad. And currently in my family, I have one of my cousins. Her daughter doesn't have a father. As a matter of fact, the father is a total dipshit. remember him, unfortunately. So the rest of the story kind of goes a little something like this. So anyway, the Sherry Leak, by the way, is this really nasty looking bitch. Fat piece of shit is a very accurate term to describe her. Very nasty human being. And I hope she will rot for what she did to little Mialah. So the story goes a little something like this. So Mialah's biological mom was 17 years old when she had her and her twin sister. Yeah, Mialah had a twin. And her twin had cerebral palsy. Severe CP. And what happened is, so now the biological mom says that her life is back in order again, and she wants to adopt the kid with CP. And, you know, it's like it pisses me off when children end up with really bad hands in life. And what happens is, you know, in little Mialah's case, you know, her mom was forced to give her up. Her dad was not around, and she ended up in the hands of this nasty white trash hoe who lived in a trailer park. And this Sherry lady, you know, Sherry Leak, butt ugly piece of shit human being. And some, I would imagine, you know, that some conservative Christians are like, oh, she did the right thing by adopting her. People need to adopt and not abort. It's like, okay, I understand. Sometimes teenagers make bad decisions and they get pregnant. But unfortunately, you know, I would have to wonder what this woman's life was like. Probably not very good at all if she's 17 and pregnant. And, you know, people need to be educated on abortion. Because look at what happened to little Mialah. She never had a great life. Either mother she was with, she didn't have a great life. She, you know, her mom went to jail, and you know, why she went to jail, I don't know. But then her, you know, she was adopted by this nasty white trash skank, lived in a trailer park, and I got news for you folks. I don't have a lot of respect for people who live in trailers. Seriously. And the reason why I say this is because I either used to know people who lived in trailers, or I currently do know people who live in a trailer. And they're not smart. They're not the sharpest tools in the shed. I mean, I even made the mistake of going to prom with a fat bitch who lived in a trailer. You know, not a trailer park, but in a trailer in the backwoods of Antrim County. Because my mom pushed me to, because her stepdad, you know, she worked with her stepdad. Her stepdad was a piece of shit. Drunk piece of shit who couldn't even drive because he had several DUIs against him. And I'm like, you know, and what's beyond pathetic was that they lived in a trailer, and in their backyard, they had another trailer with its roof caved in because they couldn't pay to get it removed. But yet they were giving money to these televangelists. I even saw a 700 Club envelope sitting on their desk at home. And I'm like, you know something, man? I will never understand white trash. It's, you know, and it's like Randy Quaid from his character from the National Lampoon movie from many, many years ago. Yeah, I was forced to sell my home because I gave all my money to the preacher. Jesus Christ. It's like, dude, don't you understand that these nut jobs, their job is to fuck you over, man. They live in mass wealth. They live in, they don't live in a trailer. They live in beautiful houses. They drive the nicest cars. They wear the nicest clothes. They even fly in jet planes. Kenneth Copeland flies in a $60 million jet plane that his followers paid for him. And I'll bet you that many of these people were white trash. Because they don't mind being gaslit into thinking that, you follow me, and if you don't follow me, then Jesus will hate you. And that's what happens. I'll bet you that Mialah Leak was probably one of those people who watched these stupid preachers on TV, and, maybe an evil spirit went through her, and that's why she killed her daughter. This is stories like this is, explains why I am not so-called pro-life. You understand? It's not fair to the child to be on this earth and be poor and to live in a house of abuse. It's not right. And these religious nuts, they will stand up and cry, oh, we need to support adoption instead of abortion. Yeah, and look at what happened to this little girl. Murdered by her own fucking mother. For what? She was only 11 fucking years old, and they got into an argument with, we don't know. To me, it's like, some people, it angers me that I look at myself. I'm 44 years old. I've never hurt a woman in my life. I've never punched a woman. I never would do anything to a woman that, would hurt her. And, it pisses me off when it's like in the world of my dating life, I've always had a bad card, a bad stack of cards myself. Because I see too many women out there who open their fucking legs to the biggest assholes out there. And what happens is they end up having their kid. And the kid, sometimes they don't have a great father figure. And, it's like I have a laundry list of people that I once knew who lived in trailers. Who were giving, and some of these people were, giving money to these religious nuts, and others were living in the house of abuse. It's like I get a little, I'm sorry. I know it's not nice to judge people because of their finances. I've met nicer people who live in crappy apartments than people who live in trailers. Hell, I even have a family member. I have an uncle who lives in a trailer. And he's not and I hate to say this about him, he's not a smart man. Many years ago, I got into here's what happened. So I was staying with this uncle of mine for several days. And what happened was I was flipping through channels, and his TV ended up on the Steve Wilkos show. Steve Wilkos, he's the bald-headed security guy from Jerry Springer. He has his own show. So, story was, he it was only on for like 10 seconds. It was black women screaming at each other. And he screamed at me to turn it off now. Now, here's the story about my uncle. He gives money to TBN. He once even gave me this tawny little Jesus statue that he got from TBN for giving them $25. And he says, you need this statue to think that, remember that Jesus loves you. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, dude, you're in the fucking poorhouse and you're giving TBN $25. And yet he decides one day to flip through channels and tell me, okay, this is a good show. This is a great show. You need to stop watching crappy TV, Charlie. You need to start watching what's really good. It's like, okay, asshole. Sorry to break it to you. You barely finished high school. And not only that about my uncle, he is the only person in our whole fucking family that gets along with some of the shittiest members of our family. Because he's Catholic and he's a forgiver. And I'm like, okay, good for you. But these people hurt us. Why? What the fuck is wrong with you, dude? Ugh. And this is, even my dad got mad at him recently because of all this shit that he's been pulling. He doesn't care about that saying, either you're with them or you're with us. Okay? There's no, let's bring everybody together and sing songs and be happy. You see, folks, the reason why I'm talking about all this is because I will never understand the logic of why people, nobody should be scared to say to themselves, folks, it's okay to get an abortion. Seriously, it's okay to get an abortion if you need one. Because, folks, I've read statements from women who have had abortions early in their years. And they said, and guess what? Some of them have actually said that their life actually was better. Not just better for them, but better for the baby. Because, get this, a baby isn't a full baby until they're born. It's just cells in a body. That's what it is. And for these religious nuts to go gaga over the fact that Donald Trump's Supreme Court got rid of Roe v. Wade a few years ago, it really makes me angry that because of this, we're going to start seeing more Mialah Leaks in this world. We're going to see more children getting hurt and abused because of all these nut jobs who do adopt children. And I've seen people who, I've seen cases of children getting adopted, and one of them, when Roe v. Wade was overturned, my good friend Darren Gibson posted on Facebook a tragic story, a really sad story about people who adopt. So Darren lives out in the boonies, and he said that there was a farm right next to him where the mother and father adopted many children. And the children were not adopted because they wanted to have a ton of kids. No, it was because children are cheap labor. Why hire a bunch of people when you can have a bunch of kids living in your home and just work on the farm for the low, low price of free? That's what it is, folks. It's not about love. It's not about welcoming a child into your life and making life better. It's all about to me, it's all about, it's not about the child. It's about the fetus. And, they'll cry that, abortion is murder. Science has proven otherwise. Science has long proven otherwise, but unfortunately, we have a government that's anti-science. Because we got this, because we got Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who is going out there telling us that, vaccines are bad and autism is caused by Tylenol. Wah, wah, wah. And I'm like, and what's even more depressing is his cousin, if you haven't heard already, she's battling cancer and it's terminal. And, it's kind of like that old Billy Joel song, Only the Good Die Young. And it's like, why are we stuck with people like RFK who are nothing more than a wolf in sheep's clothing? That's what it is, folks. And all I can say is don't look at me, because I've never voted Republican in my life. I know I just ramble on and on and on. I know people who have been adopted and they have great lives. Even my boss was adopted. My boss was an adoptee. As a matter of fact, the story was that his biological mom was murdered when he was a year old, and his father was nowhere to be seen. But guess what happened? His grandpa and grandma adopted him, and they raised him right. He's a good father. He's one of the better people I've ever worked with in my life. I'm not saying that adoption is bad, but what I'm saying is we don't, I think that's what these religious nuts want. They think that just because somebody carries a Bible, they're instantly a good person. That's not true. The sad truth is that people what they're doing is they're grooming more Sherry Leaks in this society. And Sherry Leak is a very sick person who needs to be locked up for good for what she did to her daughter. And folks, we need to promote birth control. We need to tell children, look, teens have sex all the time, but they need to learn to be careful. Birth control is good. Condoms are good. Be fucking careful. But mistakes will happen. I understand. And when a mistake is made, well, there's a couple of options. Option 1, raise the kid. But you're going to be poor as fuck. Option 2, adopt. But here's the thing with adoption. You're rolling the dice. Yes, they might end up in a nice, wealthy home, well-to-do home, but they might end up in a rotten old trailer park like Sherry Leak. And of course, there's number 3, abortion. Because, hey, it's not the full term. And that's what we need to do, folks. Keep telling people abortion shouldn't be ashamed of, because science has proven that a baby isn't a baby until it's born. Enough of this heartbeat shit. It's not even a real heartbeat. It's electric pulses. And that's what science has proven. But anyway, all I can say is my thoughts are with Mialah's family. I hope. It's sad when somebody only, it's like, this girl only had 11 years on this earth. And was just it's like no matter which hand she had, whether it was her biological mother or with this Sherry Leak cunt, she just had a bad hand in life. And there's too many children out there who have bad hands in life. And they don't deserve it. And all I can say is, I hope people will learn. It's sad that the Mialah Leak will end up becoming a poster child in all this. Because people need to know what kids go through when they have horrible human beings as parents. And may this be a lesson for everybody. Anyway, I hope you all have a very blessed and delicious Thanksgiving. Good day and good luck. Keep up the good fight. And I'll talk to you soon. Gobble, gobble, gobble.